This is the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm Jessica Mikowski, mindset coach and plant-powered athlete on a mission to guide all who are ready to great heights in sports performance and life. Through the 10,000-foot view, I share teachings of living awake with the sole purpose that we all realize our innate power to be the masters of our minds. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm joined today by Kyle Powers, who recently finished fourth place male at Ultraman, Arizona. Kyle and I got to know each other during his time on Team Yogi Triathlete and then through our work together leading into Ultraman. Kyle also gave me the absolute pleasure of leading him in meditation each morning of the 3-day event. We checked in each evening, and after enduring tumultuous weather on day one, we worked together that evening on regulating his nervous system to prepare him for his ultimate success in gaining his place in Ultraman history. Kyle is a husband, father, grandfather, and endurance sports junkie. He has completed many half marathons, placed second at the 6-hour Mosquito Hill endurance run, podiumed in his division at the Arizona State Olympic Tri, completed 2 half Ironmans as well as Ironman Arizona, and of course, his recent goal realized at Ultraman Arizona. Kyle, thanks so much for helping me kick off the interviews for season 5 of this podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, happy to be here. Honored to be on and discuss mindsets in that. And I'm actually thankful you brought up about calming the nervous system on day one after the weather we experienced at Ultraman, because I thought that would be a really great thing to talk about with just mindset training in general and what I felt like coming off from that day and how that helped prepare me for the rest of it and why that was so important, I think, and just overall, for the completion of Ultraman. So.
Yeah, let's jump in with that because why leave people hanging? I think that was a really important experience that we shared that evening. So tell us about, well, first of all, what is Ultraman? And then let's go into that story on the evening of day one.
Yes, so Ultraman is a 3-day ultra triathlon. Day one is a 6.2 mile swim and 90 mile bike. Day 2 is a 171 mile bike, and then it finishes on day 3 with a 52.4 mile double marathon. You get 12 hours each day to complete to be an official finisher. And so that is what everyone is shooting for.
It's really insane. If you're thinking it's insane, it's insane. If you're like drooling, it's still insane, but you need to follow that hit, I think. All right. So tell us about that evening on day one, or what led you to that?
Yeah, so day one, it was funny the week leading into to Ultraman. As a lot of triathletes do, we want to know the weather and we want to know this and that and the water temperature and all these things we can't control anyways, right? And not that we shouldn't be prepared, but I think too many people get caught up that, oh my God, the swim's going to be cold or this or that, and they almost finish their race. Their dreams of finishing the race end before they even start with all that kind of stuff. And so a week before, it was going to be one of the warmest Ultraman Arizonas that they've had yet. And so I was preparing and buying, gear to keep me cool. And it turned out to be the exact opposite. It was the coldest Ultraman Arizona they ever had. And so coming into day one was really my day that I knew I had the greatest potential to be in the front of the pack, as swimming has become my favorite of the 3 and my strongest of the 3 events. And with it being such just a long swim, there's not a lot of people that are geared up for a 10K swim, which they say is the equivalent to running a marathon in the swimming world, right? So, I love that. And again, that just goes with mindset and how I've attacked the water. What most people struggle with, I've gotten my mind to enjoy. And getting out there on that day, the swim went well. The beginning of the bike went really, really well. And about halfway through the 90 miles was met with about a 10 to 15 degree temperature drop. Temps dropped into the low 40s, which I live in Phoenix now. Low 40s in Phoenix is cold, right? Like that doesn't happen often. And then met with wind and rain. And I was not prepared for the rain. I had some light weather gear that quickly got soaked out. Even at one point had to get off the bike and hop in the support vehicle for 5 minutes because I couldn't feel my hands. Quite a few people did drop that day due to hypothermia risk and things like that. And so I really had to go just kind of like in Zen mode. I just had to be super present and just tune out everything. And thinking back on it now, is like really tunnel vision that I just kind of had, just seeing the road in front of me and being there. And at one time I had to look down, like, am I holding onto my handlebars? Because I couldn't feel myself holding onto the handlebars. It's, like how cold I was. And so I just had to do what I had to do to get through, that weather and go, which really put my body in a place that is normally at very heightened levels of, stress and awareness and focus. And I think when I called you or texted you after day one and then first got on the phone, you're like, oh yeah, you are wound up. Holy cow. Like, just because of that, just everything to that day one. And I just couldn't, stop shivering. I couldn't calm down. I was just, all the nervous system was at max. And so I did what I'm supposed to do, is reach out to my mindset coach and say, hey, I'm experiencing something I don't know what to deal with. Can you help me?
Yeah. So I
did. You hopped on the call.
Yeah. So we got on the call, and it was so apparent that your nervous system was just jacked. And we weren't even, each morning when we did meditation and that night, we were just on the phone. We weren't doing video calls or anything like that, but I could just tell there was a threat. Then your nervous system didn't recognize that threat had been, was gone, that you were in the house and everything. So I took you through, we started with a little bit of just breath meditation, long exhales, starting to get that parasympathetic nervous system back online. And then I took you through a yoga nidra practice, which, if people aren't familiar with that, then I think I've got a couple of those practices in previous seasons, but it's yogic sleep, and just there's some pretty cool science around it that 30 minutes of yoga nidra equals 4 hours of quality sleep. So for athletes, yoga nidra is the jam. And I took you through a yoga nidra practice to get your nervous system regulated. And so take us from that moment that we finished, like, how did it shift you and send you into, the next day?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, if you look at the nervous system, and I was going 100 miles an hour, and we brought it back down to, sub speed limit, feeling I was almost sleeping at that point. I mean, at the end of it, right? Because I really absorbed that. And the yoga nidras just work really well for me at just relaxing and releasing and all of that. And, you gave me some other instructions, to make sure that, hey, was I at the Airbnb? Was I back home where, yes, I'm a husband, father, grandfather, grandkids live with me. Did I have all that external, stuff still, or was I quiet and try to not talk and stay warm and, all of that kind of stuff, which really set me up to be able to just continue to compete the rest of the week. Because with anything ultra, multiple days, it's all about the recovery, right? I mean, just even training, building for an Ironman, right? It's most of us are fit. It's how can we not be injured and recover and get the sleep and get the body and the mind the rest that it needs. And so that really set me up to be able to, every night get the needed sleep and be rested for that next morning. And then of course, every morning that I woke up, we hopped on a 20-minute call, and I know, especially around race time, sleep is so important to athletes, but getting up earlier, an extra essentially 20 to 25 minutes earlier than I needed to, so I could get on a call with you and go through the mindset training and the meditation just to prepare for the day. I think early in our mindset coaching, you had mentioned to me that if we're too busy to meditate, then we probably actually need to meditate more, right? Like when we have those big days, that it's worth those extra times. And so I put that into my whole race plan. My whole crew knew about it, crew chief, my coach, that was very important to me. Because it doesn't matter how fit I am if my mind is in a bad place, you can't accomplish it. But if your mind can accomplish it, most likely your body can too. So
Yeah, well said. I want to ask this question because I think it's important. What drove you to like pull the trigger, right? As athletes, we know, we throw around that 90% mental, 10% physical, but so few, and it's growing, but so few are pulling the trigger to actually get that mindset coach on board with their team. What was it that drove you to pull the trigger? And you and I started, I want to say we started in August. The race was in March, and we were consistent throughout that time of meeting. And of course, you were very consistent in the practice and using the tools and incorporating that, not just in your training, but in your life. But what was it that really got you to pull the trigger on that and said, yeah, this is a non-negotiable for what I'm about to endeavor?
Yeah, I mean, and just the mindset coaching in general, I think it's become more mainstream these days to have coaches, mentors might be another word that someone might use, to do things, right? There's certainly people in endurance sports that don't have a coach that does your workouts and lays those out and helps you through all that. And not that you can't be successful in doing things that yourself, but I think there's just so many people that bring a wealth of knowledge in their particular field. Like you have nutrition coaches these days, personal trainers that can help you in the gym. There's, of course, just your regular coach for endurance sports. There's the mindset coaching. And so I have just seen, me working with a coach in any one aspect has gotten me better in that aspect than I could go myself. I call it kind of, standing on the shoulders of giants for that I've, seen further, because not I've done better, but I've stood on people that have done better that have allowed me to do, and quickly, learn these things. And so the little bit of the time that I was on like Team Yogi Triathlete and just getting the small little thing. In fact, like I think didn't you lead the breath work thing at Oceanside? Very similar to, I'm guessing, to what we did in Santa Cruz, right? And so we're talking a 10, 15 minute little snippet of what you can provide as a mindset coach and getting the mind and the breath right, because breath is everything, really. But just seeing those little things, how much of an improvement they made to me as a person and as an athlete, made me just crave more and deeper, with all of that. And so when you have that great relationship with a coach that has the knowledge that, that you seek, and you can put it into practice and you see returns, it just makes you want to continue to do it.
Oh, thank you. What was the most significant shift that the training you were doing, the mindset training that you were doing, what was the most significant shift that you noticed leading into Ultraman? Like prior to this dedicated mindset training to you actually practicing it every day, what did that lend for your experience going into the race and throughout the race?
I mean, it certainly made me more confident, right? That I can, for example, one of our mantras that you gave me for Ultraman was, I can do miraculous things with very little effort, right? That was a big one. And mantras may not be for everyone, but I've always been kind of a quote guy, like this quick 1-liner, 2-line things that are easy to remember that create impact. That was a big one. And for me, a lot of self-doubt from prior experiences and growing up and not necessarily being the A student or best kid in the world, and teachers that say you'll never amount to anything, right? And even people closer to you maybe mentioning things like that, and so just having that self-doubt, even if I didn't go through the mindset training when we were sitting at the opening ceremonies for Ultraman, and they're reading off everyone's bios, and you read off mine, and some of the listeners may think that that's a big bio, and wow, he's really advanced in this or whatever, and don't let that hold you back, because you can certainly be there. But hearing the bios of everybody else that were like multiple time podiums and world champs and endurance runs and 50 miles and 100 milers and 200 milers, and not just like one of these things, but like multiple of these, and I'm like, wow, I'm like one of these things is not like the other, right? But right, that was that self-doubt coming in. And, another thing that you had taught me is a little saying of, what, that's not me anymore, right? That's not me anymore. And I can do these great things, and who cares if they're more accomplished than me or not? I'm prepared. We've done the work, and, we're going to go out and execute on race day, in which we did. And so that, that was kind of the biggest shift, is knowing that we're not the body, right? And that the body is going to, most endurance sports, but really when you get into the ultra realm, things are not going to go good at some point. Guaranteed, right? Guaranteed. Actually, day 3 on the run, about mile 30, which I had never run more than a marathon. And I've only done one marathon, and that was the end of an Ironman. And now I'm going out and running 52.4 miles. You want to talk about the mind wanting to go into places it shouldn't, right? So I think my longest training run was 22 miles maybe, or something like that too. So it's like, we all want to know, the mind wants to know what's around the corner. Right. Really came into a spot at mile 30 of, my upper calf, completely gave out. I didn't know if I pulled something or tore something, and I still have some sensation right now. And that's why I'm just, a month out, just starting to get back into some easy cycling and some short, runs and stuff. But right away, the mind would have went to, oh no, this could end you. And I was like, no, it's not going to end me. And I'm going to keep moving on, and this too shall pass. And, all that kind of stuff. And I just kept moving on. And eventually I was able to start going faster again and go back into everything. But if I didn't have the mindset training to that might've been an ender right there. But I never thought I'm going to quit. This is it. I'm done. Right. That was never even a thought. And I know my team could see that I was hurting, and started putting some things in process to help make me more positive and bring me up. And I was just like, hey, I was never going to quit. That wasn't an option there. I put this out there that this is what I was going to do. And so I was going to do it. Now it might have ran out of time, but I wasn't going to quit. And so, just tying the mindset in with all of that, it all came together for me to be able to finish. I think if I didn't have the mindset, it went to work. If I didn't have the physical training leading up to it, it went to work. If I didn't have, my team, and that's my entire team, my crew chief, my coach, my mindset coach, all of that together is just as much a part of me crossing the finish line as me doing the work. So,
I love that you talked about confidence. Because we all experience self-doubt. And so it's not about the self-doubt coming up. It's what do we do with it? And when you don't have tools and techniques, or really even the intellectual understanding of, where that's coming from, what part of you that's coming from, it can really chip away at your confidence and your belief in self and self-esteem. So I'm glad you spoke to that. I have found the same in my own mindset training for sure. Okay. And then as we wrap up this interview, now that you're on the other side of Ultraman, what advice would you give to other athletes aspiring to finish in Ultraman? Whether that's just a vision, oh God, I kind of feel like I'm going to do this, or they're actually signed up and they're ready for it. Really regarding mindset, for Ultraman, what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah. I think a mindset coach can help with anybody. The greatest people I know, and I'm not just talking about athletics, but in business, in anything, utilize coaches for all those different, whatever that specialty may be. And again, it just helps you see further in, learning to get calm, the meditations, and, even if you don't get a coach, there's so many resources out there today. There's no excuse to not be better. Right. And I think, in fact, your other half, BJ, right, that's his shirt he's been wearing lately on his build to his fastest Ironman, which has been a joy to watch. But, just be better. And we have all these tools, and the more tools you can have in your toolbox, the more successful you're going to be. And so, look at what might be available to you and utilize it that way. Because it certainly made a difference in not just my athletics, but in my life. I'm a different person. I feel a better husband and father to everyone. Some more calm and just stuff like that. It's there's a lot of different things out there, from the David Goggins size, where it's the hoorah, and that's, I think he calls it taking souls, right? Like when he catches people, and that's what motivates him, and that may be for everybody. That was not what was for me. And so, like, I give vibes when I pass. That's my taking souls, is giving vibes. I think in my mind and try to pass some positive vibes to people when I pass them on the course and things like that. So it's there's something for everybody, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And when you can find that coach, for me, it was you, and I'm assuming if people are listening to this podcast, they're already somewhat tuned into you and what you have to offer, that they should explore it. And, you offer some really great ways for people to get in that aren't like locked in long term, just to, see if it's a fit. And I think if you do the work, it will be.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Cause it's your journey, right? Like you mentioned my husband, like he always says, like, we're just the rumble strips. Like any really effective teacher is just the pointer. Like, yeah. Right back to you, Kyle. This is your work. This is you to find it for yourself. Thank you so much. Really, really valuable information. I hope people took something away from that. And where are you like most active if people want to connect with you or follow you?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is just Kyle Powers. Instagram is KP Taking It Easy. And so you can find me there. I post a lot of my training. I'm not super active as some people, but I do have a YouTube channel that I started, the Epic Endurance Adventure Films. I haven't done anything with it. The idea was I was going to do my whole build to Ultraman, and very quickly I realized that I wanted Ultraman to be a very internal thing, that I didn't want to share out to everybody. And I don't know why that came to me, but it just did. And so I didn't film any of that. And actually, I was a lot more quiet on social media than I had been, just for that journey. But it does have like my build to race week in Arizona and my thoughts of that. And so you can go back and see where I was at for Ironman Arizona a year and a half ago to, where I'm at now with Ultraman, and just see the change, and mindset was a lot of that. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and so eloquent and well-spoken. Thank you for sharing. I can't wait to get this season out to the world.
Absolutely.
Are the messages in this podcast resonating with you? Is there a spark that has been flamed and a part of you that is craving more? Get over to yogitriathlete.com and discover how we are forging a new breed of athlete through one-on-one coaching, our squad community, and once-in-a-lifetime adventures to some of the most extraordinary places on earth. Being a member of Yogi Triathlete means you will be awake and ready for all that comes your way. So head over there now, because life waits for no one. So what are you waiting for?